The main character finds himself in the middle of a battle. His thoughts drift to a time when the hardships made him want to give up on everything. But now he's discovered a way to set things right, and we see him surrounded by allies who stand with him. He declares that if anyone accuses him of being in the wrong, he'll simply respond that he did what he had to do in order to survive. The story then transitions to a school setting, where a boy is shown sitting alone. He admits that he's planning to end his life soon, but before that, he wants to write about his miserable school experiences. A group of students is seen singing him a birthday song while simultaneously stomping on him. They brutally assault him, ᴄᴏᴘᴘыឫ, and force him to eat a filthy cake off the floor. They continue to humiliate him and even take a photo during the abuse. Doan documents all of this in his notebook. The scene shifts again to show more of that same day, with the bully Doan and his gang continuing to torment Doan. They mockingly demand he bring another cake the next day to celebrate his next birthday early. When the class bell rings, Doan and his crew rush off to class to avoid punishment from the teacher. Meanwhile, Doan slowly crawls his way back up and slowly makes his way back to the class, where he is scolded by his teacher for being late. We see students around Doan make fun of his situation as they speculate correctly about him getting bullied again. One student also says that Doan should end his life instead of bearing with this and have a good laugh about it. Doan writes it all down and says that he would win first place if writing a final will were a competition. He then imagines how doing this would ruin Doan's life forever. He says that even though he won't be able to see it with his own eyes, the thought of ruining Doan's life still brings him some twisted sense of happiness. He wonders how his family would react to him taking his own life. He imagines his brother, a study addict, still studying with flashcards at his funeral, his sister glued to her phone, and his parents not caring much because he's never really been good at anything. However, he decides that he should still inform his family and say his final goodbye. During family dinner, Doan asks his sister where their mom is. She replies that she isn't home yet. However, Doan goes forward with his decision to say his final goodbye. He tells his dad that he's sorry for being a nuisance to them, but his dad doesn't want to hear it and tells him to move out of the way because he's blocking the TV. Doan is shocked but focuses on the TV. On the screen, a news report is airing about a high school student who took the lives of his bullies. Doan is immediately drawn to the news as it reveals that the student was severely bullied at school. We then see the student being interviewed by the media, where he expresses pride in what he did to his bullies. He names them all and calls them monsters who humiliated him and mocked his family. The student says that he doesn't care at all about what people think and that he did it because he had to survive. He goes on to encourage fellow victims to step up and do the same. Doan's father thinks the student is crazy for doing such a thing and insists that, despite being bullied, he doesn't have the right to end anyone's life. However, Doan is fully consumed by the student's words and is inspired by them. Later, in his bedroom, Doan tells himself that he shouldn't end his life. He did nothing wrong. Instead, he should end Doan and his friends for bullying him so much. He takes out a screwdriver and starts stabbing his pillow to practice what he wants to do to Doan. The next day at school, Doan brings the screwdriver with him. However, he can't summon the courage to go through with it. He tells himself that, despite practicing, he lacks what it takes to follow through. He says that he won't do it unless Doan bullies him again, and just as if on cue, Doan approaches and grabs him by the back of the neck. He asks Doan if he brought the cake with him. Doan grabs hold of his screwdriver and thinks about going through with his plan. Doan continues to push his buttons, asking whether Doan brought the cake to celebrate his birthday, growing angrier as Doan doesn't respond. Finally, Doan attempts to go for it, but when he looks at Doan, his body freezes, and fear takes over. Doan acknowledges that he has a conditional fear of Doan and is terrified whenever he sees Doan's face. He's so scared that, instead of attacking with the screwdriver, he desperately tries to hide it as Doan punches him in the classroom. Doan then says that the party isn't over for Doan and demands that he meet him after school. After school, Doan heads to the backyard with Doan and his friends. Doan says that they've bought tons of stuff to celebrate Doan's birthday, including liquor. Doan tells Doan that he can't drink it. Doan then tells him that he must consume it, or it will be Doan's last day. They make a disgusting cocktail with liquor, dirty socks, dirt, spit, and other unsavory ingredients, forcing Dowon to drink it. Dowon refuses and is beaten up badly for it. Left with no choice, Dowon gulps it down. However, he can't hold it in and vomits. They mock him, and Doyen tells him he must drink it all before they stop. They continue to make the vile cocktail and force him to drink, but Dowon keeps vomiting. At one point, they run out of liquor, so Doyen orders his lackeys to go buy more, determined not to let Dowon go until he finishes the drink. As they leave, Doyen tries to pour alcohol onto Dowon's face. Unable to take it anymore, and on the verge of breaking, Dowon pushes Doyen away, breaking the bottle of alcohol, and makes a run for it. He doesn't know why he's running, but he keeps going. However, Doyen catches up and beats him up again, landing several punches to his face. He grabs Dowon by the hair and drags him back. As he's being dragged, Dowon finally decides to do something. Since he can't attack Doyen because he's afraid of his face, he realizes he can act when Doyen's back is turned. At the right moment, Dowon pushes Doyen away. Doyen, furious, prepares to retaliate, but before he can, a car runs over Doyen. As everyone gathers around Doyen and tries to make sense of what just happened, Dowon seizes the opportunity and runs for his life, terrified of getting caught. Later, we see Doyen, crumpled up on his bed, terrified about what he has supposedly done. He can't process the fact that his push might have ended Lee Doyen's life. He is tense and scared, convinced that this is the end of his normal life. The next day, we see a very nervous Dowon heading to school. He's terrified about what the reaction will be if people find out what happened between him and Doyen, whether they will attack him or not. As he enters the classroom, he fears that the police might be waiting behind the door to arrest him for his crime. But to his surprise, it's business as usual. Nothing seems to have changed, except for the fact that the seat once occupied by Lee Doyen is now empty. Soon after, the teacher walks in and announces to everyone that Doyen had an accident. The teacher says that Doyen is in a comatose state and that the accident happened because Doyen was walking carelessly on the road, not paying attention to ongoing traffic. The teacher adds that anyone who wants to visit Doyen can do so at the hospital. The class is buzzing with conversation, while Dowon is conflicted and paranoid. He can't believe he has seemingly gotten away with what he did. His moral conscience tells him he should turn himself in to the police for attempting to end Doyen's life, but he wants to live a few more days normally before doing so. The school day goes by as usual, classes, lunch, and reading novels during the breaks, just like the old days in middle school, before Doyen's constant bullying and berating of him and his family. Dowon tears up, thinking about how he wasn't allowed to live a normal high school life because of Doyen. A few of his classmates approach him and jokingly accuse him of being the one who pushed Doyen into the truck's path. They say so because they saw Dowon leaving with Doyen's group that day, but one of them refutes the theory, simply stating that someone as cowardly as Dowon could never do something like that. Dowon feels somewhat relieved, thinking that his cowardice may have saved him from a solid accusation. He is still haunted by what he did, but seeing how the kids who would usually bully him are now ignoring him, and how most of the other bullied kids are living normal lives, makes him think that maybe pushing Doyen wasn't such a bad thing after all. However, things take a turn when a police car arrives on the school grounds. Everyone is scared, or at least pretending to be scared in a comedic way, as they know the police must be there to arrest someone for what happened with Doyen. Dowon's worst fears come true when someone says that the principal has called him to the school office. At the office, he is immediately put in handcuffs as the police inform him that he is under arrest for attempting to end Lee Doyen's life. The teachers are shocked and ask why this is happening, as the police had previously stated that Doyen's accident was caused by jaywalking. The police explained that they had reviewed the truck's black box and local CCTV footage, which revealed that Dowon was the one who pushed Doyen into harm's way. The teachers are devastated and ask Dowon why he did it. Why couldn't he just be a normal kid? Dowon has no answers, as he has torn himself apart inside. He believes that, after everything, there must be a God, and he must pay for what he did. Someone like him can never be happy. We then learn that Dowon was put on 2 years of probation instead of being sent to a juvenile detention center. Him being bullied, having written a note indicating that he was going to end his life, and the fact that he was under the influence of alcohol all contributed to him getting off rather easily. However, he is now ostracized and can't live a normal life. His relationship with his family is strained, and he feels guilty for what he has done. He goes to school and finds out that he has been expelled for his actions. As he walks out, he overhears his classmates discussing how what he did was wrong. They say that despite Doyen bullying him, Doan had no right to finish off Doyen for it. Some even claim that Doyen was justified in bullying him. This angers Doan, as he can't fathom how people who have never experienced the kind of bullying he endured can judge him so nonchalantly. After that, he returns to the only place he feels he can go, home. However, upon arriving at his house, Doan is immediately told to leave by his father. Heartbroken, Doan leaves the house, tears streaming down his face. Drenched by the rain, he walks through the empty night streets and runs into Doyen's former friends, the ones who used to bully him alongside Doyen. The bullies are furious and want to take revenge on Doan for what he did to Doyen. They viciously beat Doan, telling him how wrong he was and how, despite Doyen being a lowlife, he had no right to do what he did. One of them climbs on top of Doan and rains down a barrage of punches, leaving him a bloody mess. He demands that Doan apologize for what he did. Beaten and broken, Doan can't believe he's being told to apologize after all the bullying he endured. He can't believe that, suddenly, he's the bad guy for pushing Doyen once when Doyen has repeatedly pushed him off a metaphorical cliff, ruining his life. Overcome with anger, Doan yells back, saying he won't apologize because they had bullied him first. The bully is enraged and continues to beat Doan, asking how dare he speak in such a rebellious manner. Unable to take it any longer, Doan snaps. In a burst of fury, he picks up a brick lying nearby and uses it to beat the bully viciously, leaving him in a pool of his own blood. Doan makes a decision: he won't regret what he did again. He will continue to do whatever it takes to survive, even if it means ending others. However, his actions make no difference in the way the other bullies perceive him. Instead of being scared, they're now furious with him for standing up and beating one of their own. They tell Doan that just because they used umbrellas to beat him up before doesn't mean they won't use other weapons. They begin to attack him again. The group surrounds Doan and unleashes a brutal beating on him. They outnumber him significantly and have a wider selection of weapons. Doan remains defiant, using the brick in his hand to fight back. He manages to strike one of the bullies, but his small victory is quickly crushed as the others escalate their attacks. The beating intensifies, and eventually, Doan is knocked to the ground, where the assault continues. The bullies try to get Doan to give up, but he's still angry and refuses to concede. As the relentless beating continues, a random homeless-looking man approaches the scene. He tells the bullies not to make a scene at his home. The bullies mock him for calling the construction site his home and tell him to leave without interfering. The man calmly replies that it is indeed his home, and he came back to eat. He then adds that the brick in Doan's hand was his pillow, but now it's covered in blood. The bullies are livid at the homeless man's nonchalant behavior, so they threaten him to leave. The man quickly agrees, saying he will leave for one of his other homes. The bullies mock him for leaving so cowardly, and just as they refocus on Doan, the homeless man returns. He throws his cup of instant ramen at one of the bullies as a distraction, and then quickly gets into rhythm, delivering a solid jumping kick to the bully's head. The fight intensifies as the bullies try to attack him, but it's clear they're no match for the random guy who came out of nowhere. He kicks one bully in the legs and delivers a solid right-handed punch to another. Next, he follows up with a knee to the midsection of one of them. Another bully approaches, telling the man to leave his friend, but the homeless man kicks the bully he was holding and sends him flying onto his friend. He then attacks that bully, using his fingers to jab into the bully's eyes. One more bully, holding a stick, tries to hit the man for looking down on them. The man pulls out a wrapped object and asks if the bully still wants to continue. The bully, visibly frightened, believes the object is a knife. He mocks the man, saying he's scared despite their numbers and weapon advantage. Then, it's revealed that the weapon was not a knife, but rather chopsticks wrapped in paper. This shocks the bully, but he doesn't have time to process it as the homeless man delivers a hard kick to his jaw. Doan watches, amazed at how the man has so easily taken down Doyen's crew. He feels a strange sense of satisfaction. The bullies, realizing they're outmatched, run away. The homeless man mocks them for abandoning their friend, and Dwan, now standing in awe, thanks him for saving his life. The man, clearly annoyed, responds that he doesn't care about Dwan's gratitude. Dwan asks if the man can teach him how to fight, but the man declines, more concerned about finding something to eat. Dwan offers to buy him ramen, and they head to the shop where Dwan buys the man a meal. While eating, Dwan tells the man his story. The man praises Dwan for standing up for himself and says people like Doyen need to be handled in such a manner. Dwan asks again if the man will teach him to fight. The man answers, no. Dwan, feeling devastated, promises to buy him more food in the future, but the man's stance doesn't change. The homeless man tells Dwan that he's not made for fighting and that he can't survive in street life. He insists that Dwan should go back home, but Dwan is still determined. He wants to learn how to take proper revenge on his bullies. So, Dwan begins stalking the homeless man, following his every move. He starts by mimicking the man's routine of wearing clothes scavenged from trash to survive on the streets. He also tries adopting the man's eating habits, using cat food as a side dish with rice. However, Dwan is caught stealing cat food and chased off. Later, he finds the man sleeping in a children's playground, where all the kids are too afraid to approach him. Dwan tries the same, but instead of scaring the kids, they start playing on top of him. Dwan begins to lose hope, but then he sees the man fighting a group of thugs on the street and regains his confidence. Despite his odd appearance, the man is a skilled fighter. The man, clearly annoyed by Dwan's obvious stalking, calls him out. "Are you going to keep following me to learn how to fight?" he asks. Dwan, determined, answers, yes. To Dwan's surprise, the homeless man agrees to teach him, but on one condition. He points to one of Doyen's former bullies nearby and tells Dwan to beat him up. Dwan hesitates. The man tells him that what he did with the brick earlier wasn't fighting, it was just surviving. If Dwan truly wants revenge, he has to turn the tables on the bullies. Dwan steels himself, deciding to take action. He tells himself that he was once the prey, but now he is the predator. A flashback shows Dwan and the bully Yonghyun in school. Yonghyun had apologized for bullying Dwan, making him strip in front of girls, throwing water on him, etc. Dwan had been shocked, but his classmates urged him to accept the apology, as it seemed sincere. Yonghyun offers his hand, but when Dwan takes it, Yonghyun crushes his hand with crushing force. As a baseball athlete, Yonghyun's grip strength is 84 kilos, and Dwan screams in agony. Yonghyun mocks him, saying he feels like a new man after apologizing and promises to continue this apology every day. Back to the present, Dwan's anger boils as he remembers this incident. He controls his breath and launches himself at the unsuspecting Yonghyun, who is on a call. Dwan lands a stomp kick variation, sending Yonghyun flying. The homeless man is impressed, and Dwan is ecstatic, thrilled at how easily he took down his enemy. But before he can celebrate, Yonghyun punches him hard, sending him flying back. He can't believe Dwan was the one who decided to sneak attack him. Yonghyun retaliates viciously, attacking Dwan while accusing him of not getting enough of a beating on the construction site. The homeless man, disappointed, thought Dwan had something more in him, but now it seems like nothing. Yonghyun mocks Dwan, saying he never went all out on him before, but now he will attack with full force. Dwan, though battered, refuses to back down. He swings a bag full of trash at Yonghyun's face. Yonghyun blocks it, but Dwan uses the opportunity to tackle him. However, Yonghyun blocks the tackle and repeatedly attacks Dwan. He pushes Dwan against a wall and tries to land a hit, but Dwan tries to poke his eyes. The homeless man smiles slightly as he watches Dwan's actions. It seems Dwan is starting to mimic his style from the construction site. Yonghyun remarks that Dwan isn't skilled at using that kind of fighting style, and in the next moment, he crushes Dwan's finger for trying to jab at his eyes. He questions Dwan why he's doing this, why he feels the need to attack them, and whether he feels betrayed. Internally, Dwan admits he does feel betrayed, because they're the ones responsible for his expulsion. He thinks to himself that if he had the chance, he wouldn't hesitate to take down every single one of the bullies. His mind flashes back to the advice from the homeless man, who told him that even someone like ᴄᴏᴘᴘ could be beaten, because in a street fight, there are no rules or tactics. Doan reminds himself that ᴄᴏᴘᴘ played a part in ruining his life, so there's no reason to hold anything back. As ᴄᴏᴘᴘ moves in to strike again, he pauses. Something in Doan's fierce glare unsettles him. The intensity in Doan's eyes gets under ᴄᴏᴘ's skin. Fueled by the homeless man's words, Doan pulls out a paper-wrapped, knife-like object and presses it against ᴄᴏᴘ. ᴄᴏᴘ is caught off guard. He mocks Doan, saying someone like him wouldn't have the guts to show up with a knife, but as he touches it, a chill runs down his spine. The texture makes him nervous. Doan challenges him to grip it with the same strength he once used to squeeze his hands, then suddenly drives a kick into ᴄᴏᴘ's stomach. The homeless man, observing, realizes Doan might be even more unhinged than he initially thought. He wonders if Doan, like himself, is just bluffing with a fake weapon, but ᴄᴏᴘ's frightened reaction suggests otherwise. Meanwhile, ᴄᴏᴘ is panicking, questioning what could have pushed Doan to the edge, what made him lose it to the point of pulling a knife. He tries to flee but heads the wrong way, with Doan in pursuit. As Doan closes in, knife in hand, the question hangs heavy: will he actually go through with it and end ᴄᴏᴘ?